What's up, guys? Thank you for joining me for another episode of JSpark Garage. In this episode, we're going to be making version 2.0 of the best gauge pod for the Chrysler 300 srt8, and we're going to be using my favorite fabrication tool, the laser. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Like I said, this episode is all about the upgrade. For starters, I have a new mic for the camera. Hopefully you can hear me better without all the background noise I had in my last video. Next up, you haven't noticed the shirt? We're currently trialing some designs for JSpark Garage. Hopefully soon you'll see a merch store where you can purchase your own. Bet you're asking yourself what makes a perfect gauge pod. In my opinion, it's the one that looks the most factory. Doesn't scream, hey, I've got a bunch of gauges or anything like that. And in this car, I feel like I made the perfect one. Let's check it out, and I'll tell you what's wrong with it and how we're going to improve it. And here she is. It's a custom piece I made on a laser. Yes, a laser in my garage. We'll get to that in a second. But first, as you see, factory mounted, or looks kind of factory, in the AC vent. Doesn't scream at you. This is the AEM failsafe. Has boost on the outside ring and my wideband reading in the center. The problem with this is I live in Florida, and even though it's Halloween, it's still 90 degrees outside. And what do you see with this? Well, I have no vents coming out from this side. So all of my air comes from the center vents you see over here. That doesn't quite work. So we're going to improve this. We are going to create holes for the air to come out of to add some relief in this Florida weather. Now, before we get to the laser part, we have to design it. I'm going to start with the design I originally created here, and from there we're going to add in the vents. Check it out.
Take it all back, hate the things that you said, 'cause I wish you didn't mean it. I'm under attack, running far, far away, and I'd rather keep my distance from you. You don't gotta lie to me to get through. Push and pull me off into the deep, and let's pretend that nothing ever happened on that night. I shouldn't have spoke, 'cause you didn't feel the same way about me, and it's eating me alive all of the time. So I'd rather keep my distance from you. You don't gotta lie to me to get through. Push and pull me off into the deep, and let's pretend that nothing ever happened on that night.
Alright, now that you've seen how we design it, let's get to the fun part. This is a 60-watt laser I use for a laser engraving business that I have. It's water cooled, 12 by 20 inch engraving and cutting. What we're going to be doing is sticking this piece of black acrylic in there, and we're going to engrave and cut out our new gauge pod. Let's hit the start button. Guys, check this out. Perfect. You want to know what makes this the best gauge pod? See these little nubs here? Here's a gauge pod I got from the junkyard. We're going to take out these vanes, and these little nubs are going to fit right in. No cutting. You can save the vanes. If you ever remove the gauge, you can just snap them right back in. Alright, so check it out. We have our srt8. Cut out. Black. Piece of acrylic. And boom, nice subtle engraving. I don't know if you can see that, if the light catches it just right. But alright, so this is a vent I got from the junkyard. A couple broken tabs, but we don't need them. So what you do is pull it out of the car, of course. You're going to take this off. These vanes right here, you're just gonna pop them right out. There's a little catch right underneath there. And boom, comes right out. These back vents, pull right out. I'm going to take this little piece right here with it. Set those aside, save them somewhere. You don't need them now. Now, if you noticed, these tabs correspond to these points, but it's curved. So what we have to do is get our gauge pod to curve the same as the vent. And how we do that is with this. That's perfectly bent to the bend of that. So what we're going to do is sandwich these, and we're going to heat it up with a heat gun and bend the acrylic to where it matches the same curve as our vent. Alrighty, we've got it all lined up. We're just going to heat it up and slowly bend it. That's it. Hold it till it dries. All right, and there we have it. Very slight bend. Now we take our vent and it snaps right in. Now we have the perfect gauge pod. Let's go put it in the car. Alright, now to get this gauge pod out, or get the old factory vent out, you're gonna have to pry a little bit. There's some catches. Alright, back at the bench. We have our gauge. We have our vent. Our gauge is held in with these right here. We're going to pull those off. Gauge slides right out, right into our vented. Make sure it's straight. We're going to slide our holder back on. Snaps right in. There we have it. We now have airflow from our gauge pod. I'm excited. It's been hot here in Florida. Alright, installing it back in is pretty easy. We're just going to connect up our gauge. And the whole thing should just snap right in. And that's that. We now have airflow from our Gauge Pod 2.0. And there you go. Version 2.0 Gauge Pod. The perfect gauge pod for the Chrysler 300 srt8. Here it is. And now we can stay cool when it's hot outside. That is how I use my laser engraver to make version 2.0 gauge pod for the Chrysler 300 srt8. The perfect gauge pod, in my opinion. I want to thank you for joining me here at JSpark Garage. Leave a comment below, let me know what you thought. Consider hitting the subscribe button, the notification bell so you know about my new videos, and the like button. I hope I sparked an interest in wrenching. Till next time, peace.